Okay. Hi, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Whole New Life podcast. I am so excited to have a very special guest with me here today. My intention when I started this podcast was always to find empowering women to come along and tell their stories. And this lady was the first person that I thought of that was number one on my list because I had the privilege of working with her. She was my business mentor. We worked together and it was just such an amazing experience for me. And I just have to say, like, one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. Genuinely can say that. I would like to welcome Natalia Kern. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. Oh, it's so nice to be here and hear your voice and seeing your face, and your voice and your words are so nice. Thank you so much, Janice. Thank you.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much. So I'm sure most people that are tuning in here already know a lot about you. You are obviously a coach that empowers women entrepreneurs, moms to be the very, very best that they can be and go after the lives that they really want to live. And, you know, I've seen you be able to do that, and you made such a difference in my life. But I think, you know, we were having a conversation earlier, and I had said to you, I think a lot of times when people see somebody who's living a life like you are, right? You know, you and your husband have a massively successful business, you in your own right, him and his, and together you have this amazing business. You know, you're hanging out with really awesome people, you're living in a beautiful place. And I think a lot of times people get the misconception that it's some sort of blessed life that you just were like, yeah, just rolling along. And then now everything's fantastic. So I know a lot about your story from getting to know you, and your tenacity is just amazing. So if you wouldn't mind sharing your story of where you came from with the ladies that are listening.
Yeah, I would love to. I think it's the biggest misconception that most people have about success in general, not just the way people look. You know, success is a very relative thing, right? To each of us, success is a different thing. So somebody is the great figure, for others it's a great bank account, for a third person it would be having a family or having children or sending their children to a particular college. So our success is with each his own, right? So when people are looking at pictures, especially when it comes to social media, it's very surface stuff, and nobody posts pictures that are depressing.
That's right.
Ooh, which depressing picture should I post? You know?
Yeah.
So we just share bits of happiness, I would say, and just an inspiration. In my case, I'd like to post pictures that inspire people to be and do more for themselves and for other people that they love and they want to contribute to their lives. So it's natural for others to perceive that it always has been that way, and that a blessed life is just something from birth or given to you just because, you know, you are a particular person. I think it's a blessed life, I agree, by design. And it's nothing short of hard work, sweat, blood, and tears, especially when nobody cheers you on, especially when nobody sees what you're doing. You know, the overnight success is the sequence of nights, I would say years and years of sleepless nights, and lots of bruises and lots of bumps on the road. And you know how it is. You had a journey of your own. And
yeah, exactly.
Marching your journey, right? It's not the end. And every scaling growth spurt has its own challenges. And I think it's about learning how to embrace those challenges and moving on and growing continuously, because I believe in the continuous growth. It's never until I grow up. Let's say I get a college degree and I'm happy I got married, and then I'm happy I had children, and then I'm happy. Yeah. It's continuous becoming the best version of yourself. So for me, I come from a very small village in Ukraine with one hospital and one school. I was born in that hospital and went to that school shortly when I was, I believe, in fifth grade. during the civil conflict between Moldova and Transnistria. It was a terrible time, so I stayed with my grandparents. And growing up, we had little, very little. And anybody who comes from the post-Soviet collapse, the economical chaos and crush, familiar with that. Anybody who is going through uncertainty when it comes to governments, when it comes to war, civil war, when it comes to even if it's just in your family, it doesn't have to be a governmental crush or chaos. It can be just in your own family.
Mm-hmm.
You have no control over choices and decisions that your parents are making or your relatives are making. We all have a story. I believe we all have a story, and we all have our own emotional traumas that we are trying to heal as adults, somehow bigger than others.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not about how much was thrown at us. It's about how we deal with it and how we manage and how thick our skin grows without making our heart cold, and to trust others, and ability to fall in love again, and ability to not give up on yourself just because people were harsh to you and just because people were heartless to you sometimes, you still believe that you are here for a reason, and you that you are worthy of love, your own love first, your own respect, your own acceptance, and figuring it out and just giving yourself a permission to figure things out. I don't know what's ahead of me, but I trust in myself that I will figure things out. And I'm learning from people around me, and I'm choosing people around me. I think it's one of the biggest keys in success is surrounding yourself with people who are not just successful, but they're eager to grow, and they're eager to contribute, and they are passionate about their own craft. It doesn't have to be the same as yours, even similar as yours. It just has to be something that brings passion in their life and activates it internally, where they exude the energy that is so contagious.
Yeah.
Help yourself, but step up your own game,
Oh, I agree with that 100%. It's so funny whenever you're around people that, you can feed off each other's energy. Like you say, even if your thing is completely different than theirs, but you get that excitement and you get, you pump each other up compared to somebody that's like, oh, I don't think that would work. Oh, my friend did that before, and oh, it didn't work for her. And you're like, no, what are you doing? So I think it's so important. It's funny. I was talking about this with a girl a couple of weeks ago. Sometimes we're in an environment where we have to maybe somebody in our family, or there may be somebody we really care about. And unfortunately, they've got that going on. And you can't change everybody. You can't drag them on your journey, but you got to make sure you balance it out with a few more of the energetic ones to make sure you stay on a good level, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's not about cutting off people who are, let's say, naysayers. They are speaking from the perception of the world. This is how they see the world. It's not because they're bad or they don't like you or they don't want you to succeed. It's just that's how they see the world, and that's how they see the failure and victories. And they're terrified to fail again. And they're terrified for you to experience that same pain that they experienced in the past. Yeah. So that's why they're saying those things. But if you know there is a better way, or you hope to find the better way, you just need to surround yourself with people at the same time, with those ones who are naysayers, that are believers because they went through obstacles. They broke some concrete walls before them, and they found solutions. Yeah. And they might not be the perfect solution for you, but it just gives you hope and some structure at the same time, and strategy perhaps to figure your own things out, because there are a lot of fundamental things that we can apply to different industry, to different part of our lives, not necessarily just in business, but relationships, your own health. We were just talking about health, right?
Yeah.
And consistency and dedication to the result.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. 100%. And I think that, it always makes me sad. And I think probably we all go through periods in our life when it's harder. Sometimes it's harder than others. But whenever I see people not living up to their full potential, or thinking that, oh, that kind of life is for somebody else, that's, whether it be going out to start your own business or traveling the world or whatever you aspire to do, but the limiting beliefs keeping you back from just going and living a life you really deserve,
Yeah, I agree. I think it has to do with fears, because we'll have fears, and it's great to have them because they save our lives. It's for, survival in our human world. But I believe that people need to just question their beliefs sometimes and ask, well, is it right? Because yeah, maybe generation after generation, this is what your family lived, but did it bring you the results that satisfy you, that fulfill you? And if the answer is no, you have to look outside of your comfort zone and start small. You don't have to go crazy necessarily. It depends. It depends on your stamina. Some people can deal with it. Some people can break under that pressure. So I think we should start small, step by step, and just figure out and just step out of the comfort zone. Just open the door, peek out, and then start making first steps. And whether it's your business, your relationship, any aspect of your life, just start getting out of your comfort zone and stretching your comfort, just stretching it. And then you'll see, because every time we stretch and succeed at that small step, we boost our confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Self-confidence, and start believing in our own strength and ability to figure things out. And I think we need to ask ourselves, why not me?
Mm-hmm.
I remember the biggest lesson I've had when it came to that question when I just met Frank and I fell in love with him, and we were very new, and we just came back from baby room when I got pregnant with my son, and I got very sick and I got in a coma. And they woke me up after 3 days being in the coma, I remember waking up and thinking, well, at least I experienced what it is like to truly fall in love, fall in love with the right person. Well, at least I experienced what it is like to expect a baby, because I was terrified to get pregnant. I was 30 years old. It was my first pregnancy, and I wasn't ready to be a mom because I was terrified that I will repeat the steps of my own parents. Mm-hmm. So a lot of emotional trauma that was on my shoulders, I kind of manifested in my own life. And those fears were paralyzing me from living my life, from stepping out of my comfort zone and saying yes to the right person, instead of being, well, that's okay. It's not aggressive. He's not beating me. He's not yelling at me. It must be fine.
Yeah.
Because in comparison to what I knew, my standards were really low. And I finally met a person after years and years of working on myself and healing myself, I meet him, and here I am becoming deadly ill and fighting for my life. And I got very mad. I got mad at nurses and doctors. Why would you wake me up from coma if I am not going to survive this pain? Because it was devastatingly painful. And then the doctor said, you are very strong. We are fighting for your life. And at this point, it's time for you to fight for your baby. The first time in those three days, I realized that, yes, there is life inside of me and I have to fight for it. Like we all have to fight for ourselves. You don't have to be pregnant to fight for yourself, And I realized that this is it. This is you either sink or you swim. And I literally fought for my life. And I promised myself that I will never lower my standards again. And I will fight for my life, and I will fight for my happiness, and I will fight for my children's happiness, because their standards depends on our standards, right? Mm-hmm. That's the first blueprint. And I decided to give myself a chance. I decided that I was worthy of love. I was worthy of respect, loyalty, because I grew up in a very dysfunctional world. There were no men who were loyal to their wives. There were no men who were supporting their children. They would just leave, and that's it. My biological father never supported us, so he almost killed us. So I didn't have any pictures that programmed me for happiness and confidence. And the only thing I knew, you either go against the grain and you will upset a lot of people, your closest people, your family members who are supposed to, by DNA purposes, support you and defend you, protect you, right? And love unconditionally, somewhat, didn't happen. So I had to figure it out. And here I was laying in a hospital bed, very vulnerable, very humbled by everything, because I came from a very public life where I looked very good. And here I am in the gown. My body was changing every day. I was going under myself, and I had male nurses taking care of me. A very humbling experience, university.
Yeah.
But with my tilted crown.
Yeah.
So finally, I decided to fight for myself. And never since I stopped fighting for myself, because I believe everybody knows what it is like to be broken inside.
Yeah.
And collecting your emotional spine one vertebra at a time and putting it all together. And I believe that it's a matter of deciding one day. It can be today when people are listening to us.
Mm-hmm.
It can be the next morning after it all sunk in. But telling yourself that today's the day I am starting fighting for myself. Today's the day that I will start guessing my self-limiting beliefs. Why not me? Why she is happy and loved and she has whatever she wants to have. It doesn't have to be a certain package. Whatever you decide you want to have in your life, you can. And it's not materialistic things I'm talking about.
No.
All the things that bring you joy, because you can be very wealthy and utterly unhappy and unfulfilled. And I've seen those people many times. You can be on surface being married to the best man in the world and be so depressed and so unfulfilled and trying to fill the void with shopping, with stuff and still and being embarrassed by that feeling too, because I've seen women who are utterly unhappy and they seemingly have everything on paper.
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with materialistic things. However, I want to say that money is important, because when I was in the coma, I was uninsured. And the bill was a whopping $150,000.
Yeah.
We weren't able to make money, and we weren't able to have that freedom. I literally woke up to 5 doctors asking me if I was able to afford to live.
Wow. That's frightening, isn't it?
Yes.
So money is important.
Especially for women. Especially, I think financial education and becoming self-sufficient as a woman is a must.
Absolutely.
It's a choice. It's not cute to be financially not sufficient and dependent and not knowing how to be financially healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very important. But it cannot be an obsession that will cover everything up and fulfill you as a human. So obviously it's just a vehicle to have the freedom to go wherever you want to go, to have quality of life, to buy better food, to drive a better vehicle, but that's it.
Yeah.
And the rest is already in us. Just like the ability to make money, it's in us. We just need to either activate it because it was never used, or to grow it and get more educated and surround ourselves by people who know better, who've been there already and succeeded at what we want to succeed at.
Yes.
And just,
well, you obviously had that, like when you left home by yourself, you came over to the States by yourself, right?
17 years ago, it will be in August. I was 21. I came to the States and I married a guy. I thought I loved him. I truly believe that I loved him, but I think it was more an obsession to just find the love of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really wanted to be in love. I am a hopeless romantic. And I repeated the steps of my mother. I chose the wrong guy. He was very abusive, and I ran away from him 2.5 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. And you made it on your own. You worked your behind off to get where you did. It started with modeling. Is that right?
Yeah, we worked together with him when I just got to the States. But after I left him, my girlfriends tried to convince me that I should model. And I finally was free to do whatever I wanted to do. And I decided to model, and it became my bread and butter job. A lot of people assumed it was glamorous, brainless, and Oh boy, were they wrong. So I decided to build a business out of it right away, and took charge in everything I was doing. That gave me a lot of freedom to pick jobs I wanted, but at the same time, I took all the responsibility on my shoulders, and I slept in my car. I drove to castings that were like 15 minutes long, but I would drive for 10 hours just to get there. And it was a lot of work, and any working model can attest to that. It's very difficult, and it's like any other job. It requires your commitment. It requires your you have to look a certain way all the time. They don't care if you're sick. They don't care if you're out of shape. You're just out of job.
Yeah.
If they see your picture and you're not looking like in the picture, you're screwed. They turn you around, you'll go home.
Yeah, and you're very much into obviously the health and fitness side of things. So, I mean, you were working hard.
That was my door out of the catapult, because I would go to castings. I was in lifestyle modeling first. And I would just go to casting with 150 girls. And obviously, it's a very subjective world. Maybe today they're looking for a blonde or a redhead, so I'm out of luck, and vice versa. And I've seen a lot of younger girls crying outside just because they pick to cut their hair. Or something ridiculous as that. And I would come up to them with their moms and, don't cry, you're lucky. Pick you. It would be good. And they would pay you very little. A lot of covers that I've done that were totally free, and people assume that that's major income and very glamorous life.
Yeah.
You can make it that way, though. You can work your behind off and make it your way. And fitness for me was something that I could step into, and I'm not high fashion height model. I'm 5'5", so I'm shorter than fashion models. That's why I couldn't walk runways here. And I just decided that every woman is beautiful in her own way, and I am the way I am. And I'm sure there are a lot of women like me that would like to see me on the cover. And I just went for it. And we worked, and fitness was kind of my outlet, because I could stand out, and my body depended on my work. Mm-hmm. And I was able to pose and model. It took me years to become somewhat good at that, but I was able to stand out from the athletic crowd. So that was kind of like the combination that helped me.
Yeah, absolutely. So you had a lot of success with that. So leading on from that, you met Frank, you have your family now, and something that I really loved ever since when I first met you was you've just got such strong values around your family, around having time with Frank. Mm-hmm. Like, you really got your priorities where you're like, our lives have to have balance, right?
For me, our relationship, you're right, there are always and always were a priority, because I've seen so many marriages crumble, and you can start very beautifully together and you fall in love. But I believe that just because you fall in love and marry each other for all the right reasons, and have children and have the same bank account, or maybe running the same business, doesn't guarantee you success if you don't make time for each other. In the very beginning of any relationship, what we do, we try to put best face forward. We listen to each other. We laugh at each other's jokes. We're so supportive of each other. And then routine sinks in. And 10 years later, it's hard to laugh at the same joke.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Come up with new ones.
Yeah. You're like, I've heard that one before, Frank.
Let's come up with new stuff. So it's in anything, right? So we need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of the health of the marriage. So we need to be committed, because like we fall in love with them in a certain way. They fall in love in a certain way as well. So they fall in love with a certain woman, right? Mm-hmm. And the ideal is to grow together, not necessarily at the same speed, but hopefully very similar, and looking in the same direction. So for me, it was paramount to understand my husband, to hear him, to acknowledge him, to make sure that he knows that I'm there by his side no matter what, because there is nothing worse than being in a marriage and feel utterly alone and misunderstood and not acknowledged. So I always committed to hearing him, even if I disagree with him, because we do get in the arguments sometimes, rarely, but we do. And we both are very passionate people.
Yeah. And you can't agree on everything. It would be abnormal, right?
Yeah, because we care. Obviously, people who love each other and live each other for a long time, and they every now and then they bicker or get in the argument because we care. We never stop caring. So it's normal. And especially, having children, you get tired and sometimes you just on the short fuse. It's normal. So it was never a big deal. But Frank is incredibly patient. So he has so much patience with me. So he knows when I'm burning very bright. So he just lets me.
Yeah.
Lets me do that. And I'm like, okay, now you're ready.
Yes.
I think just being there for each other when we are vulnerable. And hold space for each other. I think it's very important.
Yeah. It's funny. Brian and I we just had our 19th anniversary a couple of months ago in April, right?
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you. And you know what? It's been a journey. Sure. 19 years is a long time. You go through a lot of life experiences in 19 years. But when I look, I think, my goodness, the amount of people that we know that didn't weather the storm, and it's just like, I'm so thankful, because I feel the same as you. It's like, life is going to happen. There's going to be stresses. There's going to be whatever is going to come up. Life's going to throw stuff at you. But I think if ultimately you have each other's back,
yeah,
and you're there for each other, you can just dig your heels in and get through it. Right.
I agree with you. And another thing is, because when you are together for a long time, you go so deep, right?
Yeah.
You cover depths of yourself that you never knew about, right? And you are diving in much deeper every year, right? And you are layering things about yourself, and you becoming happier and more even trusting with that person, and the ability of you to hold space for that person, and the ability of yours to open up to that person is so incredible. So I really, really love that in the couples who are staying for a long time, because it's inevitable for us to hit the wall. It doesn't have to be a breaking wall, but you do get obstacles in the long-term relationship. So I think it's very important to just be aware of the inevitability of that, and just know why you are together. And for that reason, we have to be committed to the dates, to the time together with each other that is uninterrupted, with the baby talk, with the family talk, with the business talk, where it's just you. And it's not always perfect, but I think when you are committed to continuously fall in love with your partner, it's not a job, it's not a chore, it's just something. Let's go and discover different things together and have that fun together that is so bonding. Laughing together, just being silly, just doing things. Because the way you trust your husband, you can't trust in the same way another person, right?
No.
Oh, wow. And you're so comfortable, but at the same time, so deeply in love. It's beautiful, right?
100%. Yeah, that's it. I love that more than anything, because sometimes you do have to, and that's what I admire so much about you, is you, and I've, I have to say, there have been times where Brian and I have been like, okay, work, do this, do that. Right. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, when's the last time just you and I went out for dinner and didn't talk about work? Because that can be a slippery slope, right? You're sitting there over a glass of wine and dinner and you're talking work stuff. It's like, no. So we've really started to prioritize that. And I just think it's so important to keep that relationship so it doesn't feel like a chore. Because I think, unfortunately, for a lot of people, that's where it gets, because all the crap gets in the way.
It's so easy to get buried under the responsibilities and chores and errands. And financial burden and family member gets sick or a child is misbehaving or being sick, you name it, all of the above sometimes at the same time, because rains it pours. So it happens. But I think just remembering, I remember going through postpartum time, and I was psychotic, especially after my first child. And I didn't know what to do with myself. It just happened. And as I was saying things, I did not know where it was coming from because I didn't know stuff like that. So I just remember looking at Frank and saying, I'm there. I'm still there. Just be patient. Please wait for me. I'll be back. I have no idea what's happening. It took over me. So just wait for me. He's like, I know, honey, I'm here. But it's important to put the ego aside. And if you know you're wrong, admit to it. Because you just feel crazy, right? Like he's losing his mind and he's bored or he's unacknowledged. Just like we don't want to feel that way.
Exactly. It's actually funny you say that because I can't believe I'm admitting this here, but I have this sneaking suspicion that I'm heading towards menopause, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like pretty hormonal. And there's times where I am a psycho and I can hear myself and I'm like, Janice, why are you being so bitchy? Stop that. But I do. Thank God I'm, aware enough that I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm really sorry. That was my hormones. That wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
I heard myself being horrible. It wasn't me. I swear.
Every now and then we become bloodthirsty, and
exactly.
Can't help it. But I think it's important to have so much more intentional goodness invested into the relationship that this stuff cancels out.
Exactly.
And another thing, I think it's important in couples, especially working together couples, because when we are together on the mission, we are shoulder to shoulder, and it doesn't matter who is taking which role in business, but we are shoulder and shoulder. Mm-hmm. And we have families and we have so many different variables, right? Especially during the stress time. But I think it's important for a woman to step into her feminine side every now and then, because we do carry a lot of responsibilities on our shoulders as working women and partners. And for the man to realize, in order for your girl to step into her feminine and be that sensual energy that you desire and you turned on by, for him to step into his masculine and allow her to blossom as a woman, even especially when she's about to lose it, when she's really stressed or when things take over her. I think it's the great sign for her to take a break and for him to actually take a little bit more on, to let her breathe, and vice versa. So when we feel like they are very frazzled and they lose their manners sometimes, we can just, it's okay, we're here. That's why we're together. It's not just, chocolates and flowers and great sex, So, shoulder to shoulder grinding.
You can step into the role.
Right?
Totally. Yes. That's what makes it work. So what I know you've got a lot of exciting stuff going on. So, obviously you're working with women and you've got another upcoming project. Can we talk about that?
Sure. My entire world, when it comes to my work, I'm on a mission to empower women just to use their voice. Because we all have a voice. Some is very fragile and some are just were shut down. Some never use them. They just don't know how. And my goal in life, through my work, through people like you, through everybody who we work together, just to create that ripple effect and empower them to use their voice and discover themselves, rediscover themselves. Because with each life phase, we lose touch with ourselves sometimes, especially working moms or after we become wives, and each phase somehow takes over. But it's important to keep that connection with yourself, with that inner girl that lives in you, that was looking at the world with bright eyes and wide open eyes and was hopeful and excited about the future that was coming. And I want that girl to be connected with who we become as women. And drive us forward, because it's so important to make sure that her dreams are not crumbled under the pressure of the adult, that we can manage.
Yeah.
It's all combination of our choices and decisions. And I do coach. I prefer working one-on-one, and I like mentoring women who are either going through the business scaling process, or they just trying to figure it out in life. And I'm working on my skincare line.
Yeah, exciting. That's what I said to you. I'm like, you've got the best skin in the world, so I cannot wait to check this out.
Thank you so much. It's work, because a lot of people compliment me on this, and I love taking care of my skin, and having daughters, and I have 2 stepdaughters and a little 5-year-old, Kata Love, and that's the skincare line name, Kata Love. Love it. And I watch them doing pretty much everything I'm doing. I'm putting makeup on, they do the same way, they're using the same products. And I always wanted to have something healthy that I don't have to double check for ingredients and read and Google those words that nobody can pronounce, and make sure that they're not going to, harm my DNA.
Yeah, exactly.
But yet being effective, So I was always playing with potions and just testing various products. And I decided to start my own thing, because that's how much I love it. And I partnered up with a lab that, because I'm not a chemist, I want to make sure that it's done properly. So we are working together. I picked my top 3 formulas for a phase. We're starting with just 4 products to start with, and I'm launching it this summer.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, there are a lot of logistics, there are a lot of variables, like any business. And that's why I love starting projects like this, because it reminds you that no matter where you are in life, no matter how much it's still a process that you must follow.
Absolutely, 100%.
But that's also a great reminder for anybody who is terrified to start something new, that it's just a process.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. That's it. It's a process that can be duplicated. You just gotta, and it's especially, it's funny because whenever I see you talking about that, you totally light up. That's something that you're really excited and you're really passionate about. And that's what it's all about, right? I just feel like if there's something out there that anybody wants to do, whether it be a new career or whether it be a hobby or something, if it's something that gives you that sort of fuzzy, excited feeling, it's like, I want every woman to go out there and go for it.
Yeah, because, really happy girls are the prettiest.
That's right.
We just exude that positive energy that is contagious, and it's so important to feel that way. Not all the time, because we're obviously human. Yes. You want to exude that good energy, and find something that you love. Make a list of things that you think you're good at and you love doing, and then start checking them off the list, and give yourself permission to make mistakes, because those are the road signs telling you which way to go, what works for you. Not necessarily a lucrative business, because there are a lot of business models that can be very lucrative, but what is aligned with you, what really activates that joy in you is really important. So
yes, 100%. That's what's going to really get you out of bed and get you excited in the morning. Not going after the money, but going after something that you love doing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you.
Well, that is fabulous. Well, I've taken up enough of your time. It looks like you got maybe a beautiful day out there in Miami. You probably want to get out and enjoy it. So thank you so much. Again, I just love you. You're just such a sweetheart. And I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much. And congratulations on your podcast. It's great stuff.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Okay. Bye.
Bye.